The FIFA Women's World Cup final, Germany 0, Brazil 0 at half-time. And, well, for Brazil, not only do they play the game very well, but as you can see from these pre-match pictures, they also do it with a smile and a rhythm that's rapidly becoming the envy of women's football. Now, Germany, though, they've been rather difficult to break down at times for Brazil. And as we look ahead to the second half, Craig and Melissa, where to now for both sides? Everyone's had a go at each other, so to speak, early on. Now, in this second half, do you see it becoming a bit more of a cagey affair, or do you see it opening up, Melissa? I think it will open up. I think the Brazilians will get their foot on the ball and actually start controlling a bit of the play and just knocking it around and more Brazilian style of play. Whereas the Germans, I think, will rely on the long ball to Birgit Prince and just whack it in there and see what comes of it. And hopefully the Brazilians will make a mistake in their point of view. Craig, what about for you, just quickly, because Germany, it's so good at times at closing the Brazilians down. The Brazilians could be frustrated, and if they hold out long enough for Germany, they nab a goal on the break, a set piece, and all of a sudden you're world champion back-to-back.
Yeah, well, that's right. One mistake from either side and it can be curtains, but at the back, as we said, Brazil a few times just look a little bit risky, but they might give something up. Having said that, in attack, they've been by far the better. And I think they are a good chance to score. Let's hope that we get a goal in normal time anyway. And for me, in the first 45, Brazil were by far the better football team. As I said, if you're the reigning world champion, you've got to sit back and play counter-attack in the World Cup final. I don't think it's great. I'd love to see Germany come out in this second half and start to play some football. OK, here. Let's go back to our commentary team now. John Helm at the microphone. But our focus now is on the Women's World Cup final in China for the moment, and SBS Chief Football Analyst, former Socceroo Craig Foster, rejoins me, as does Matilda's goalkeeper Melissa Barbieri. Now, guys, I guess the first half hour was almost like watching a tennis match. Yeah. Back and forth, back and forth. It was really quite an opening, Melissa, to this game. It's amazing, isn't it? Just the physical dominance of both teams. At one stage there, I thought it was a bit of aerial ping pong. I was watching an AFL match. But, yeah, definitely, that physical presence by Germany, like those tackles on Marta have really, turned a bit of a table. She doesn't have time on the ball that she did have in the other games. Well, Craig, the match was being billed as, the flair of Brazil against the very organised Germany, and they're very powerful. Both teams, it's turning out quite the way we expected it, really. Would you agree? So. And Brazil really, in a football sense, dominated the first half. They had a majority of the possession anyway, and were camped most of the time in Germany's half. But once they got around the edge of the 18-yard box there, or any balls really into the feet of any of the strikers, they're really very well organised and extremely strong, this German defence, and tough to get behind. For Germany going forward, I think most of their chances, except for one nice passage of play where they played through the centre of Brazil, really came from Brazilian mistakes at the back. Just a bit of poor decision-making. But even so, it's nice to see them trying things. At times it's very refreshing just to see fullbacks come out with the ball and start to try and play. Melissa, given that the Matildas, the only team to get past this Brazilian team as well, I guess it's a compliment to you guys, but what about the weaknesses it exposed in Brazil? Do you see them there tonight? I definitely think their aerial prowess is not as good as the Germans. They're not as tall as the Germans. They've got one really tall defender, which is the captain. She's a great player in the back line. But really, other than her, they don't really have any tall players. So I'm sure the Germans, if they put the ball in the box or, set pieces, anything can come from those. I think that's where they're going to score a goal from. Well, as you heard, it was quite an opening to this contest in Shanghai. Let's have a look at the highlights. And, well, Marta here, the first to have a strike in anger, cuts in from the right, Craig, and really winds up from a long way out. So it looked like she was very confident from the outset here, and a very talented player, but then was closed down a little bit by the Germans, and at the other end, they also had some joy, especially this. This is Gareth Freckes here. Should have at least hit the target in the side netting. That wasn't long after, actually. Yeah, Marta did start the game very well, but she's had a few shots from, very, very long range that hasn't done too well with. But, yeah, that was a great opportunity, and you felt that, she almost should have scored there, Gareth Freckes. She hasn't been in the game as much as you would have imagined. Set pieces around the box, this is one where really they should have got something on that. and you know, Germany should really have conceded their first goal. But Germany,
maybe both should have conceded.
Goalkeeper's done well there.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper's done very well there and come out and just smothered the shot, because she didn't know much about it there, and yeah, just cleared it and smothered it really.
What about this chance here for Germany? Great move involved
Great
Birgit Prinz in the end, and Sandra Smisek. Look at this. Look at the space in the box. Shoots over. She was onside as well.
Yeah, in any other game they would have finished that. Against North Korea, exactly the same opportunity came up for Gilfrekas, and she's just slotted that into, you know, into the net in any other game. But I think just the pressure of the World Cup final might be getting to Germany a bit. That's a great strike from
Daniela.
Well,
she gets a second bite at the cherry here.
Yeah, I think she's
pops up at the back post.
She could have just headed that normally, but she's, you know, given it the big dive and try to make it look spectacular, which they tend to do sometimes.
But Craig, I think maybe what we saw in the opening half hour were two sides so eager in this World Cup final to, you know, stamp their authority early. A bit of nervousness, perhaps, holes at the back. But as the game started to settle, what changed for you? You know, because all of a sudden we're seeing a very difficult and tight affair. As you look at the stats there, a lot of possession for Brazil, but really the last 10 minutes of the half is where I think maybe we started to see a pattern develop.
I thought the pattern was for the first 30, where Brazil really, you know, I thought they were camped in Germany's half. You know, to think that Germany are the world champion and they're just sitting back playing counter-attack, and they're preying on the mistakes of Brazil. And in the first half, there has been quite a few at the back. And Prinz, you know, when it's a misplaced pass, which they did against us, don't forget Lisa de Vanna scored the first goal from a pass straight from one of their defenders. And they've done the same thing several times here. They really, at times, they live extremely dangerously, and there's a bit of a difference to the men's game. They take some risks that even in the men's game you don't see. And actually, you know, it's good to watch. It's dangerous, but it's very good to watch, and there's a good chance that Germany will get something on the counter from a mistake. But you know, at the same time, they've had some good chances in the box, and you know, there's a good chance Brazil will score in the second half, I think. Okay.